What is the spookiest Pokemon card? There's tons of scary Pokemon out there, such as Mimikyu for example. And now that we're halfway through the Scarlet and Violet era, we'll be listing off the 10 spookiest Pokemon cards leading all the way up to number 1, and trust me, you won't believe who it is. Starting off the list with number 10, we have ourselves a common card coming from Temporal Forces, being Gastly. I originally wasn't going to include any common cards, but after coming across this one right here, there was no way I couldn't have it on the list. Gastly is a staple for all scary Pokemon, and it's actually not going to be its only time appearing here on our top 10 list today. Taking a closer look at this Gastly card, there's a lot more to it. Even its description says it wraps its opponents in a gas-like body, which is quite scary and gives me the chills. And then just imagine you're turning on your flashlight, looking down the stairs, and this is the first thing you see. This card speaks for itself, but if you think otherwise, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. That was number 10, let's move on to number 9. Up next, we have two cards coming from Paradox Rift and Scarlet and Violet base set, both of them being EX cards, Crawfigigus and Banette EX. I was also going to skip off on EX cards, but I couldn't pass up these two. It is said that Crawfigigus could seal nearby humans in their bodies and turn them into mummies, which is one of the main reasons why I really like this EX card. You can see its hand kind of reaching out of the card, trying to grab you or trying to grab the trainer to then go ahead and seal you up in the casket. We then have Banette, which is a doll-like Pokemon that is fueled by pure hatred. There was a couple other EX cards within this era that kind of look similar, but these two are the main ones that kind of stood out to me as those spooky Pokemon, and just the cards for themselves added onto it as well. Up next at number 8, we have ourselves an art rare coming from Paldean Fates, being Hero Form Palafin. Now some of the cards lower on this list, such as this Palafin card, might not really come off as spooky or scary, but when you look at it in a different angle, especially Palafin, which is kind of seen as a superhero in a way, with a human physique, this card right here almost makes it look like if the Palafin kind of went rogue and is going against its kind of looks like the Dark Knight or gives off like a Batman type of feel or vibe, but just because of the colors and the shadowing that this card has right here, I went ahead and included it on the list. Up next at number 7, we do have ourselves a card coming from Scarlet and Violet base set, the Skullvillain illustration rare card. Skullvillain is a double-headed monstrous type Pokemon, and it is described as a ferocious Pokemon whose rampage is unstoppable. Now this card is out in broad daylight, which doesn't really give it that scenic or scary vibe to it, but best believe if I'm going out to eat somewhere and I come across a Skullvillain just sitting at a table, I am going to turn around and go eat somewhere else. Let's move on to number 6. Almost halfway through our list, and at number 6 we have ourselves a card coming from Paldea Evolved, being this Paldean Taurus card. Seems to be the Aqua breed compared to the Blaze breed and also the Combat breed that were all introduced in the Paldean region, but it is still a Taurus card who is a violent and rowdy Pokemon. Now with this card right here, it looks like the Pokemon is charging at something, which actually fits in with the description of the Pokemon as well. It states once it starts charging, it is unable to stop or change course until it hits something. Which is why this is a card or a situation you do not want to be put in. You are not going to make it out alive, of course. Moving on to number 5 on the list, we are now halfway through the list, and up next we have ourselves a card coming from Paradox Rift, being this Toedscruel illustration rare card. I feel like this is where the list is going to take a turn and is where it actually begins. Toedscruel eats by wrapping prey within its tentacles and sucks out their nutrients, which then causes the prey pain, of course. I feel like Tentacruel was actually already a very scary water Pokemon, and now giving it legs and Toedscruel kind of gives it the ability to roam around Earth and go ahead and hunt down its prey. This card right here gives off like a sci-fi type feel or look to the card itself, which is why I went ahead and included it on the list, and is the main reason why I said this is where I feel like the list does begin. From this card going all the way to number 1, these are all well deserving for the top 4 cards or the top 5 cards including this one, but let me know if you disagree, of course. Now just outside the top 3, we do have ourselves another card coming from Temporal Forces, being this Gastly illustration rare. Now before you run down to the comments and start bashing me for putting this card so low on the list, there is a reason that I do have the original Haunted Trio so low, or outside of the top 3 at least. The first reason is that with this Gastly card, you do see the trio, of course, haunting. It looks like they're walking down a road or down a village or so, haunting everything that comes their way, with Meowth even hiding right there in the background. But I feel like the colors are too vibrant and bright for it to be like a haunted or a dark card, which is why I did have it pretty low on my list. It of course has potential to become a very great card in the future. It's just, in my opinion, I feel like it wasn't top 3 worthy. Going up to number 3, we have a card coming from Shrouded Fable, being this Houndoom card. In the past, people thought that Houndoom's howl actually came from the Grim Reaper. That's how scary this Pokemon actually is. Houndoom live in packs, and the one with its horn ranked sharply towards the back serves as the leadership role. I did select this card at number 3 on my list over the Gastly card just because, or the main thing that kind of tipped the reason over to have this at number 3 is because of the colors that were selected within the card itself. It's a black and white card with a little bit of red just shown on the eyes, showing you how locked in this Houndoom pack is on their prey. They aren't going to stop until they get their prey, of course, and then they're going to finish them off and divide it along its pack. If you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments below. I feel like number 3 and number 4 was an extremely tight battle, but ultimately I went with Houndoom at number 3. At number 2, we actually have ourselves a whole evolution line coming from Shrouded Fable, Duskull illustration rare. And Duskull is probably, in my opinion, the scariest baby Pokemon out there. Duskull can become invisible, sneaking up on their prey and going through walls. Out of all the baby Pokemon, or even out of all the ghost type baby Pokemon, this has to be the scariest just because the way it kind of looks. It was made to actually resemble the Grim Reaper, and in this illustration rare card you can see it underneath a street light just eyeing you down from a distance. This whole evolution line kind of plays a story within one another that you'll see shortly with these cards. Going on to the first evolution, which we do have Duskull, which is a hollow-bodied Pokemon and is wrapped in bandages. Its body can actually absorb anything, much like a black hole, but it is actually unknown what happens to something once it is absorbed by Duskull, as nothing ever comes back once that does happen. On this artwork, you can see Duskull, it looks like at the nearby neighbor's house, just eyeing you down behind a bush, and with every one of these cards within this evolution line, you can see the Pokemon is evolving, and not only evolving, but getting a step closer to you, which is why I have it at number 2. The storyline is just incredible within this. You'll see the final stage right here. We do have ourselves a Dusknoir, and it looks like they actually made it inside your house. It's too late to run now, and there's no turning back. The antenna on Dusknoir's head allows it to receive transmissions from the spirit world, which then tell it to bring people there. So it looks like on this artwork card right here, you did not make it out. You are getting taken to the spirit world by Dusknoir, and just the color palette that was selected on this card as well. It's just amazing. This is my number 2 so far on the list. If you disagree with any of the cards on my list so far, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Even put down the list of cards that you believe you would have in your top 10. Now going on to the number 1 spot, if you haven't guessed it already, we have ourselves our card from Twilight Masquerade, being this Froslass illustration rare. Froslass lives in snowy areas and has the ability to freeze foes with its negative 58° Fahrenheit breath. Now this card right here adds another element to the scariness that Froslass brings. The way this card was painted or drawn out is so amazing, as it makes it look like Froslass is actually a real thing in real life. Now, it is also said that Froslass goes down to human homes to knock on doors during the nights of cold blizzards, and it looks like Froslass is doing just that within this photo right here. It will then freeze you and display you down in their cave. Now that is my scariest Pokemon card so far from the Scarlet and Violet era. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed the video. If you disagree with my list, make sure to let me know your list down in the comments below. Make sure to check out one of these 2 videos right here if you're enjoying the content, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see some more. That's it for me today. Thank you for stopping on by, and bye for now.